Hey, movie buffs, ever heard of Butterfly? No? Well, buckle up, because this 1982 drama is a wild ride. Directed by Matt Simber and based on James M. Cain's 1947 novel The Butterfly, this film is infamous for its controversial themes and, let's be real, its pretty rough reception. So here's the deal. Set in a dusty, remote mining town in 1930s Nevada, Butterfly follows Jess Tyler, played by Stacy Keach, a loner who takes care of an abandoned silver mine. Out of nowhere, his estranged teenage daughter, Katie, played by Pia Zadora, shows up. But things get weird. Katie not only claims to be his daughter, but starts seducing him. Yeah, you heard that right. As their relationship spirals into seriously disturbing territory, the townspeople start raising eyebrows. And when Katie gets tangled up in a scandal involving her legitimacy, wealth, and some messy personal relationships, things really hit the fan. The cast. It's a mixed bag of talent. Pia Zadora as Katie Tyler, Stacy Keach as Jess Tyler, Orson Welles as Judge Rouch, Lois Nettleton as Belle Morgan, Edward Albert as Wash Gillespie. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Butterfly was not a hit with critics. Most of them trashed the writing, the direction, and especially Pia Zadora's performance. But here's the juicy part. Zadora's husband, millionaire Meshulam Riklis, was accused of pulling strings to get her awards and publicity. Despite the backlash, Zadora somehow snagged the Golden Globe for New Star of the Year. Cue the side-eye from everyone. On the bright side, the film's score by Ennio Morricone got some love. So at least there's that. Decades later, Butterfly has become a cult classic. Not because it's good, but because it's so bad it's entertaining. Pia Zadora even won a Razzie for Worst Actress, which honestly feels about right. The film's got a 40% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 4.710 on IMDb. It's not exactly streaming anywhere, but you can find it preserved on the Internet Archive. Links in the description if you're curious. So if you're in the mood for some campy, controversial cinema, give Butterfly a shot. Just maybe don't watch it with your family. Hey everyone, let's talk about a classic adventure story that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Night Crossing is a 1982 historical drama brought to you by Walt Disney Productions. But don't let the Disney name fool you. This isn't your typical fairy tale. It's based on a real-life heart-stopping escape from East Germany to West Germany during the Cold War. And how did they pull it off? With a homemade hot air balloon. Here's the deal. The Strelzig and Wetzel families are fed up with life under the oppressive East German regime. They're desperate for freedom, so they hatch a crazy, risky plan. In secret, they build a hot air balloon to fly over the heavily guarded border into West Germany. But it's not smooth sailing, or flying, I guess. The Stasi, East Germany's secret police, are hot on their trail, and the families face one close call after another. The cast is stellar. You've got John Hurt as Peter Strelzig, Jane Alexander as Doris Strelzig, Beau Bridges as Günther Wetzel, and Glynis O'Connor as Petra Wetzel. These actors bring the tension and emotion to life in a way that'll have you rooting for the families every step of the way. The film was shot mostly in Germany and England, directed by Delbert Mann. When it first came out, reviews were mixed, but over time, Night Crossing has earned its place as a gripping and inspiring Cold War escape story. Oh, and here's a fun fact. It was released on February 5th, 1982, and made $8 million at the box office, which wasn't bad considering its $10 million budget. While it doesn't have a Rotten Tomatoes score, it holds a solid 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Want to check it out? You're in luck because Night Crossing is available to stream on places like Google Play. Hey there, movie lovers! Let's talk about a hidden gem from 1982 that's equal parts inspiring, intense, and groundbreaking personal best. Written and directed by Robert Towne, this sports drama dives into the world of competitive women's athletics with a raw, honest lens. It's about dreams, relationships, and finding your, personal best. The film stars Mariel Hemingway, from Manhattan, Scott Glenn, the ultimate tough guy, and Patrice Donnelly, who wasn't just acting, she was a real-life track and field athlete. Talk about authenticity. Meet Chris Cahill, Hemingway, a young talented athlete training for the Olympics. She's got the drive, but she's also got a lot to learn. Enter Tori Skinner, Donnelly, her experienced teammate. The two become fast friends, and then, let's just say their relationship takes a romantic turn. But it's not all smooth sailing. Between the grueling training sessions, injuries, and self-doubt, their bond is put to the test. And let's not forget their coach, Terry Tingloff, Glenn, who's as demanding as they come. This isn't just a sports movie. It's a heartfelt story about balancing love, ambition, and the pursuit of greatness. LGBTQ+. Representation. For its time, Personal Best was revolutionary. It portrayed a same-sex relationship in a natural, non-sensationalized way. Female empowerment. This film shines a spotlight on the dedication, struggles, and triumphs of female athletes. Realism. Thanks to Patrice Donnelly's real-life experience, the track and field scenes are as authentic as it gets. When it first came out, Personal Best was a bit of a mixed bag. Critics loved its cinematography and sensitive storytelling, but audiences weren't ready for its bold themes. It tanked at the box office, making only $5.6 million against a $16 million budget. Ouch. Still, critics gave it a 74% score, and over time it's become a cult classic, especially in LGBTQ+ cinema. Fans on IMDb rate it 6.4 out of 10, which isn't bad for a film that was way ahead of its time. Ready to check it out? You can rent Personal Best on Amazon Prime. Trust me, it's worth it for the 80s vibes alone. So grab some popcorn, hit play, and get ready to be inspired. Personal Best isn't just a movie, it's a journey. Hey, movie lovers! Ever heard of One from the Heart? It's this wild, visually stunning romantic musical from 1982, directed by none other than Francis Ford Coppola. Yeah, the Godfather guy. But here's the twist. It totally bombed at the box office. Still, it's got this crazy, dreamlike vibe that's worth checking out. Here's the scoop. Set in Las Vegas, the movie follows a couple, Hank, Frederick Forrest, and Franny, Terry Garr, who call it quits on their 5th anniversary. Big oof, right? But then they each dive into some steamy new flings, Hank with a circus performer, Nastasia Kinski, and Franny with a smooth-talking waiter, Raul Julia. Sparks fly, but guess what? They realise they're still crazy about each other. Classic love roller coaster. What makes it so unique? Coppola went all out with this one. He ditched real locations and built the entire thing on sound stages, creating this neon-lit, hyper-stylized version of Vegas. It's like you're walking through a dream, or maybe a trippy art installation. Plus the cinematography by Vittorio Storaro and the production design by Dean Tavoularis. Absolute eye candy. And don't even get me started on the soundtrack by Tom Waits, with duets from him and Crystal Gale. It's moody, soulful, and totally unforgettable. But here's the kicker. The movie was a huge flop, like massive. It cost $26 million to make and barely scraped together $1 million at the box office. Ouch, right. Coppola's studio, Zoe Trope, even went bankrupt over it. Still, over the years, One from the Heart has found its people, its cult following. Critics might have been harsh, it's sitting at 51% on Rotten Tomatoes, but fans on IMDb are way kinder, giving it a solid 6.5 out of 10. Here's the deal. If you're into bold experimental films or just want to see what happens when a genius like Coppola goes all in, this one's for you. It's available to rent right now on Google Play or YouTube. So grab some popcorn, dim the lights, and dive into this dreamy, neon-soaked love story, One from the Heart. It's a wild ride you won't forget. Hey movie lovers, ever heard of The Amateur? No? Well, let me fill you in on this hidden gem from 1982, directed by Charles Jarrott and starring John Savage, Christopher Plummer and Martha Keller. This thriller is based on the novel by Robert Little. It's got all the Cold War intrigue, espionage and revenge you could ask for. Here's the scoop. John Savage plays Charles Heller, a CIA cryptographer whose fiancée is tragically murdered in a terrorist attack. When the CIA drags its feet in going after the killers, Heller doesn't just sit back, he takes matters into his own hands. Using his hacking and cryptography skills, he blackmails the CIA into letting him infiltrate Eastern Europe to hunt down those responsible. What follows is a wild ride of espionage, deception, and political drama. Revenge? Oh, it gets personal. Why should you care? This film dives deep into themes like personal revenge versus state interests, the morality of intelligence agencies, and that fine line between justice and obsession. Plus, it's packed with that dark, suspenseful vibe that made 1980s spy thrillers so iconic. Star-studded cast. John Savage as Charles Heller. You'll feel his pain and obsession. Christopher Plummer as Professor Lakos, because every thriller needs a smooth-talking genius. Martha Keller as Elizabeth, mysterious and captivating as ever. And plenty more, including Arthur Hill, Nicholas Campbell and George Coe. What did critics say? Reviews were mixed. Some loved the intense plot and Savage's performance, while others thought the pacing was a bit off. Still, it's got a solid 5.8/10 from users on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's worth a watch if you're into Cold War-era spy flicks. Box office buzz. Released on February 12, 1982, it raked in $6.8 million against a $10 million budget. Not a blockbuster, but hey, it's got its charm. Streaming status, bad news. It's not available on any streaming or rental platforms right now. But if you stumble across a DVD or catch it on late-night TV, don't let it slip by. So, ready to dive into a forgotten Cold War thriller? The Amateur might just surprise you. The Beast Within, 1982, a horror flick that's weird, wild, and totally worth your time. Directed by Philippe Mora and written by Tom Holland, it's loosely based on Edward Levy's novel of the same name. Think body horror meets supernatural thriller with a gnarly twist on the werewolf transformation trope. Let's dive in. Here's the deal. The story follows Michael McCleary, played by Paul Clemens, a seemingly normal teenager who starts acting not so normal as he gets older. We're talking violent tendencies, weird behaviour, the whole shebang. His adoptive parents, Eli and Caroline McCleary, Ronnie Cox and Bibi Besh, are freaking out trying to figure out what's going on with their kid. But here's the kicker. Michael's got a dark secret. Turns out he's the result of a horrifying assault that happened years ago when his mum was attacked by some monstrous, inhuman creature. As Michael grows up, he starts transforming into something straight out of a nightmare, and it's all tied to the creepy history of this small Mississippi town. Why should you care? First off, the transformation scenes are next-level grotesque. We're talking practical effects that'll make your skin crawl, and this was the early 80s, so it was seriously shocking for its time. The movie also leans hard into Southern Gothic vibes. Think dark family secrets, generational curses, and a whole lot of what the heck is going on. It's got that unsettling atmosphere that sticks with you long after the credits roll. Fun fact, critics weren't exactly fans. It's got an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 5.6/10 on IMDb. But who cares? It's a cult classic for a reason. Horror fans love it for its bizarre, unapologetic weirdness. Where can you watch it? Grab some popcorn and head over to the Tubi app. It's streaming for free right now. So, if you're into freaky transformations, Southern Gothic horror, and movies that are just plain out there, give The Beast Within a shot. Just don't blame us if you have nightmares. Cannery Row, 1982, is this charming romantic drama that brings to life John Steinbeck's novels Cannery Row and Sweet Thursday. Directed by David S. Ward, the film stars Nick Nolte as Doc, a laid-back marine biologist, and Deborah Winger as Susie, a wanderer who winds up working at a local brothel. Set in the 1940s in the fictional Cannery Row, think rundown waterfront district vibes in Monterey, California, the story introduces us to its oddball residents. Doc, the reclusive yet kind-hearted scientist, spends his time diving into the wonders of marine life and brewing his own beer. Then there's Susie, the feisty newcomer just trying to figure out her place in this quirky little world. Despite their differences, Doc and Susie find themselves wrapped up in a quirky yet heartfelt romance. They're surrounded by an unforgettable supporting cast, including Mac, played by M. Emmett Walsh, and his gang of well-intentioned but mischievous drifters. The film's got this dreamy, nostalgic vibe going on, with a set design that totally nails the essence of Steinbeck's depiction of Cannery Row. The production wasn't all smooth sailing. Raquel Welch was originally cast as Susie, but later replaced by Winger. When the movie hit theatres, it got mixed reviews and, unfortunately, didn't do well at the box office, earning less than $1,000 against its hefty $11 million budget. But hey, the tides have turned. Nowadays, critics have warmed up to Cannery Row, with a solid 75% score on Rotten Tomatoes. And on IMDb, fans rate it a respectable 6.6 out of 10. If you're intrigued and want to check it out, you're in luck. Cannery Row is widely available on streaming rental services, including Google Play. So grab some popcorn and dive into this hidden gem from the 80s. Hey there, movie buffs! Let's talk about the 1982 drama Love and Money, directed by James Toback. This flick features some intriguing stars like Ray Sharkey, the stunning Ornella Muti, the unpredictable Klaus Kinski, and Armand Assante. So, what's the story? We've got Byron Levin, Ray Sharkey, a young ambitious bank officer in LA who finds himself neck-deep in a wild mix of greed, politics and passion. He gets swept off his feet by none other than Catherine Stockhines, played by the gorgeous Ornella Muti. But hold on, she's married to a powerful industrialist, Klaus Kinski, and that's where things start to spiral. Levin's caught in a crazy scheme that involves a political coup in a Latin American country, all for the sake of love and wealth. Now, let's dive into the film's vibe. It's a cocktail of ambition, corruption, and the tricky moral choices folks make when they're chasing power and riches. You'll find romance, intrigue, and political drama, all wrapped up in Toback's intense character focus and a touch of psychological drama. Here's a fun tidbit. Did you know that Toback originally imagined a much bigger production for Love and Money? Unfortunately, budget issues threw a wrench in those plans, and the film had to be scaled down quite a bit. Plus, working with Klaus Kinski was no walk in the park. His notorious quirks made the set pretty dynamic, maybe even a little hectic, which might explain some of the film's unevenness. When it hit theatres, Love and Money didn't exactly wow the critics and didn't rake in the big bucks either. It made around $14 grand at the box office. It hasn't really been showered with love on Rotten Tomatoes, and it scores a 4.3 out of 10 on IMDb. Curious to see what it's all about? You can catch Love and Money on Fandango at home. Perfect for a chill night in with a bit of old-school drama. Hey there, movie buffs! Let's talk about a film that's both groundbreaking and heart-tugging, Making Love, 1982. Directed by Arthur Hiller, this flick was one of the first from mainstream Hollywood to dive into the world of homosexuality and the tricky journey of coming out, especially when you're already hitched. Plot summary. So, here's the scoop. We've got Zach, played by Michael Ontkean, who's a hotshot doctor with a pretty awesome TV producer wife, Claire, played by Kate Jackson. On the surface, everything seems peachy, But Zach's wrestling with a big secret. He's into guys. Things start to get real when he crosses paths with Bart, a self-assured, openly gay writer portrayed by Harry Hamlin. Zach's journey to understanding his true self leads to some serious soul-searching, and eventually he comes out. This revelation shakes up his marriage with Claire, leaving each of them to figure out their new paths in life. Themes and significance: LGBTQ+, representation. This film was a trailblazer, showcasing a gay protagonist's journey for identity and acceptance. Marriage and coming out. It delves into the challenges of hiding one's sexuality in a seemingly perfect marriage and the fallout of coming out. Changing social attitudes. Made its mark during a time when LGBTQ+ stories were rarely seen on the big screen. Reception and legacy. When it hit theatres on February 12, 1982, Making Love didn't exactly make waves at the box office. But over time, it carved out a legacy as one gutsy portrayal of LGBTQ+ themes when Hollywood was mostly shying away. Critics were divided. Some lauded its heartfelt take, while others thought it was too neat or lacked true fire. These days, though, it's got a dedicated fan base who appreciate its place in LGBTQ+ film history. On Rotten Tomatoes, critics give it a mixed 56%, while fans on IMDb give it a respectable 6.9 out of 10. Now, if you're itching to watch it, Making Love isn't officially on any streaming rental sites, but you can catch a fan-uploaded version on YouTube. Links in the description. Hey there, movie buffs! Let's talk about a gripping political drama from the early 80s, Missing, 1982. This gem is expertly directed by Costa Gavras and stars the legendary Jack Lemmon alongside the talented Sissy Spacek. It's based on true events that surround the disappearance of American journalist Charles Horman during the intense 1973 Chilean coup that toppled President Salvador Allende. What's the story? The plot centers on Ed Horman, played by Jack Lemmon, a no-nonsense businessman from the States. He finds himself on a desperate journey to Chile, searching for his son Charles, John Shea, a journalist who found himself caught up in documenting the chaotic coup. Initially, Ed trusts the US government's integrity, but slowly becomes aware of some unsettling truths. As he digs deeper, it becomes clear there's more to the story. American involvement in the military coup may not just be a wild theory. Ed, with his daughter-in-law Beth, the incredible Sissy Spacek, by his side, faces a tangled web of bureaucracy and deception, leading him to realize the dark reality of political repression. Why it matters. The film bravely tackles big themes like political corruption, human rights abuses, and the touchy subject of US intervention overseas. When it came out, it ruffled quite a few feathers, especially in the US, with Uncle Sam denying any part in Horman's vanishing act. Missing is a potent critique of American foreign policy and its history with military-backed coups in Latin America. How did it do? Well, Missing didn't just make waves. It made history by bagging the Palme d'Or at the 1982 Cannes Film Festival. Plus, it snagged 4 Oscar nominations, including nods for Best Picture, Best Actor Jack Lemmon, and Best Actress Sissy Spacek, and even won the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. Pretty cool, right? Released on February 12, 1982, the movie pulled in $14 million against a $9 million budget. Not too shabby. Critics still love it, with a solid 94% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Fans rate it 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb. But here's the catch. Even though it's an award-winning classic adored by many, you won't find Missing on any streaming service today. If you're keen to watch, you'll need to dig up a physical copy. So, movie hunting adventure, anyone? Happy watching. Hey there! Have you ever wondered what life was like way back in the day, during the prehistoric era when fire was brand new? Well, you're in luck. let me introduce you to Quest for Fire, a mind-blowing adventure from 1981, hit the US in '82, directed by the talented Jean-Jacques Annaud. This film takes inspiration from a 1911 novel, La Guerre du Feu, by J.H. Rosny-Aine, and dives deep into the world of early humans and their epic struggle to harness the power of fire. Plot summary. Picture this, it's 80,000 years ago. Meet the Ulam, a small tribe of early humans who've got fire, but haven't quite figured out how to make it yet. When a rival group snuffs out their precious flame, 3 brave souls, Neo, Everett McGill, Amukar, Ron Perlman, and Gore, Namir Elkady, set off on a wild journey to find a new fire source. Talk about a road trip like no other. Along their trek, our heroes bump into all sorts of prehistoric folks like the Xam, a brutal and primitive tribe, and the Ivaka, who have a nifty trick up their sleeve, fire making. Along the way, Neo meets Ika, Ray Dawn Chong, from the Ivaka tribe, who plays an essential role in their adventure. Themes and significance. This flick isn't just about fire. It's loaded with themes like human evolution. You'll see different stages of human development, from Neanderthal-like beings to more advanced Homo sapiens. Language and communication. Forget modern speech. The characters chat using a prehistoric lingo crafted by linguist Anthony Burgess. Yup, the guy who wrote A Clockwork Orange. Survival and discovery. It's all about the thrill of finding fire and the quest for knowledge and progress. Production and reception. Quest for Fire isn't just another movie. It's a masterpiece thanks to realism. With help from anthropologists, the film nails historical accuracy. Makeup and effects. Special effects whiz Christopher Tucker, think the Elephant Man, turned actors into believable cavemen. Awards. The film snagged an Academy Award for Best Makeup and several César Awards. Not too shabby, right? Legacy. This gem is celebrated for its unique storytelling, gritty realism, and killer portrayal of early human life. It's a cult classic that has left its mark on prehistoric cinema. With a release date of February 12, 1982, it raked in $21 million against a $12 million budget. Today, it's still got it, boasting an 88% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a solid 7.3 out of 10 from fans on IMDb. Curious to watch Quest for Fire yourself? Grab some popcorn and fire up Amazon Prime. Hey there, movie buffs and Western lovers, ever heard of Barbarosa? If not, you're in for a treat. This 1982 Western flick is directed by Fred Schapisi and stars the iconic duo of Willie Nelson and Gary Busey. It's a funky, underrated blend of action, humour, and legendary storytelling that just might become your new old favourite. Plot summary, meet Carl Westover, played by Gary Busey, a young Texas farm boy with a bit of a problem. After accidentally killing a man, he hightails it out of town, finding himself wandering the desert. There, he stumbles upon the infamous outlaw Barbarosa, brought to life by Willie Nelson, who's been dodging the law for years. Carl ends up tagging along with Barbarosa, learning the ropes of the outlaw lifestyle whether he likes it or not. Barbarosa, whose real name happens to be Barbarosa Zapata, is caught in a never-ending feud with the Zapata family. All because Don Braulio, the family patriarch, is hell-bent on getting vengeance for a dishonor. But here's the kicker. Barbarosa has morphed into this mythical figure, a ghostly legend that grows with every tale told. As Carl travels with Barbarosa, he starts to see just how powerful myths and legacies can be. Why it stands out, Willie Nelson's charisma. As Barbarosa, Willie Nelson nails it, bringing humour, wisdom, danger, and that undeniable Nelson charm. Understated but well crafted. It may not have been a box office smash, but it's got a cult following for its fresh spin on Western tales. Beautiful cinematography. The film treats you to stunning views of Texas and Mexico, making it a feast for the eyes. Final thoughts. Barbarosa is that hidden gem in the Western genre, offering more than just the usual shoot-'em-up action. It's all about the classic outlaw adventure with layers of legacy, myth, and good old revenge. If you fancy westerns that dive deep into character and story, this one's calling your name. Though it didn't rake in the big bucks when it hit theaters on February 19th, 1982, only making $1.7 million against an $11 million budget. It's got a stellar 100% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics love it, while fans on IMDb give it a 6.3 out of 10. Curious to watch Barbarosa yourself? You're in luck. It's streaming for free if you're a Peacock subscriber. Grab some popcorn, settle in, and enjoy the ride. Hey there, movie buffs and sci-fi lovers. If you're in the mood for some classic 80s action blended with a dash of horror, then you've got to check out Swamp Thing from 1982. Directed by the legend Wes Craven, this film brings to life the DC Comics character created by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson. It's a wild ride that mixes horror, action, and comic book vibes into one thrilling experience. Here's what it's all about. Dr. Alec Holland, played by Ray Wise, is on a mission in the swamps, working on some groundbreaking bioengineering research that could potentially solve food shortages. But things take a turn for the worse when the sinister Anton Arcane, portrayed by Louis Jordan, sabotages his work for his own greedy ambitions. During the chaos, chemicals spill on Holland, transforming him into the Swamp Thing, a part human, part plant creature played by Dick Durock. Now, as this fierce but brainy being, Swamp Thing is on a quest to protect the feisty government agent, Alice Cable, played by the fabulous Adrienne Barbeau, while fending off Arcane's goons and grappling with his new wild identity. Why, you'll dig it. First off, it's directed by Wes Craven, the genius behind horror hits like A Nightmare on Elm Street. Plus, it's loaded with those cool, old-school practical effects and rubber suit monsters that scream 80s nostalgia. Even though it was a low-budget flick, it gathered a cult following and even spawned a sequel in 1989. And let's not forget Adrienne Barbeau. She's a horror icon you might recognize from The Fog and Escape from New York. Her role here is one of the reasons horror fans just can't get enough of this film. Even though it didn't smash the box office, earning less than $200,000 against a $3 million budget, Swamp Thing has won the hearts of many comic book and horror fans. It even inspired a TV series in the 90s and a streaming series in 2019. This movie is a beloved piece of nostalgia, especially before superhero movies flooded the scene. Curious to see what all the buzz is about? Swamp Thing is right at your fingertips, streaming for free on Tubi. Grab some popcorn, sit back, and enjoy the ride into the swampy depths of sci-fi horror. Death Wish 2, 1982, is an action-packed thriller and a sequel to the 1974 film Death Wish, with Charles Bronson reprising his role as Paul Kersey. Directed by Michael Winner, this film dives right back into Kersey's life as he once again finds himself dishing out his brand of justice. Plot summary. Fast forward a few years from the first film, and we find Paul Kersey trying to leave his vigilante ways behind in sunny Los Angeles. But, as luck would have it, trouble finds him again when a gang of thugs attacks his housekeeper and kidnaps his daughter, Carol. Things take a tragic turn when the gang murders Carol, dragging Kersey back into a world of vengeance. He's on a mission to track down and take out each of the gang members responsible, all while dodging both the bad guys and the authorities hot on his trail. Cast: Charles Bronson as Paul Kersey, Jill Ireland as Jerry Nichols, Vincent Gardner as Inspector Frank Ochoa. Production and reception. This flick was made on a budget of about $2 million and raked in around $16 million at the box office. Despite the backlash for its graphic violence and depiction of crime, it snagged a fan base among action movie buffs. A cool tidbit: Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin created the film's musical score, adding a unique touch to its production. The graphic nature of the film led to it being censored in several countries. Legacy. Even with a mixed bag of reviews from critics, Death Wish 2 cemented Charles Bronson's image as a big-screen vigilante and paved the way for more sequels in the Death Wish series. It's still loved by fans who geek out over gritty 80s action flicks. Death Wish 2 hit theaters on February 19, 1982, and made a solid $16 million against its modest $2 million budget. Critics might not be fans. The film only scores a 35% on Rotten Tomatoes, but viewers seem to dig it, giving it a 6 out of 10 on IMDb. Want to watch? Death Wish 2 is streaming for free on the Tubi app. Hey there, horror fans! Let's dive into a spooky blast from the past with Evilspeak, a 1982 supernatural horror flick directed by Eric Weston and starring Clint Howard. This movie is a wild ride that mashes up satanic horror with the early days of computer tech, making it a one-of-a-kind gem in the horror world. Plot summary: meet Stanley Coopersmith, played by Clint Howard, a shy, awkward cadet stuck in a strict military academy. Poor Stanley is constantly bullied by his fellow cadets and mistreated by his superiors. But things take a wicked turn when he finds an ancient satanic text hidden away in the academy's church basement. Thanks to a retro computer, he translates the book and accidentally calls upon some seriously dark forces. Fed up with the constant bullying, Stanley taps into this newfound demonic power to get some violent payback on his tormentors. Notable elements. This film is famous for being one of the first to bring computers and tech into the supernatural horror mix. If you're a fan of themes like bullying and revenge, which Cannery, 1976, nailed, you're in for a treat with Evilspeak, UK censorship and video nasty status. When Evilspeak hit UK VHS tapes in the early 80s, it got a lot of attention from the British authorities. Why? Well, the film didn't hold back on the gore, demonic vibes, and some intense scenes of violence involving animals. It earned the infamous Video Nasty label under the Video Recordings Act of 1984, meaning it got banned or saw heavy restrictions due to concerns about its impact on viewers. The ban boiled down to gory scenes, especially the bloody climax, controversial satanic themes. A particularly shocking scene involving violence against pigs, censorship in other countries over in Australia, Evilspeak faced a ban for a while before getting the green light with some cuts. In the US, it came out with an R rating after snipping a few of the most violent scenes. Legacy. While Evilspeak didn't blow away critics at first, it's found a devoted cult following over the years, especially among fans of 1980s horror. Its cool combo of satanic horror and early computer tech really makes it pop in the genre. So if you're in for a throwback horror night, this one should definitely be on your list.